Archaeologists say writings on an ancient tablet confirmed there was a global flood and an ark that carried animals.
For centuries, explorers and believers have scoured Mount Ararat in Turkey, chasing the ultimate archaeological prize. Now, shocking discoveries in the region have been made. Could these findings finally prove the existence of Noah's legendary vessel? But the most mind-blowing discoveries may be what's been found inside the ark itself. Did Jesus know about this all along? What warnings did he leave us? And why is this information only coming to light now? Join us as we uncover what they found in Noah's Ark in Turkey. Noah's Ark and biblical flood narratives. The tale of Noah's Ark is one of the oldest and most widely recognized stories from the Bible. It has captured people for millennia with its dramatic narrative of divine judgment, survival, and renewal. Found in the book of Genesis, this account describes a world so corrupt that God decides to cleanse it with a great flood, sparing only Noah, his family, and pairs of animals aboard a massive wooden vessel. The story begins with God's disappointment in humanity's wickedness. Noah, described as a righteous man who walked with God, receives divine instructions to build an ark to save himself, his family, and representatives of all animal species. The dimensions of this ark are precisely specified: 300 cubits in length, 50 cubits in width, and 30 cubits in height. These measurements, using the common cubit of 18 inches, would result in a vessel approximately 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet tall. According to the biblical account, once the ark was completed, Noah brought aboard his wife, his 3 sons and their wives, and pairs of all animals, 7 pairs of clean animals and birds, and 1 pair of unclean animals. Then the text describes a catastrophic deluge lasting 40 days and 40 nights, with water covering even the highest mountains. The flood narrative continues with the waters prevailing on the earth for 150 days before beginning to recede. The ark eventually comes to rest on the mountains of Ararat, traditionally associated with modern-day Turkey. After sending out a raven and a dove to test for dry land, Noah, his family, and the animals finally disembark. The story concludes with God making a covenant with Noah, promising never again to destroy the earth with a flood and establishing the rainbow as a sign of this promise. While the Noah's Ark story is central to Judeo-Christian tradition, similar flood narratives appear in numerous cultures worldwide. The Epic of Gilgamesh, a Mesopotamian poem dating back to around 2000 BCE, includes a flood story with striking parallels to the biblical account. In this epic, the god Ea warns Utnapishtim of an impending flood, instructing him to build a boat and save the seed of all living creatures. Hindu scriptures also contain a flood myth in which Manu, the progenitor of mankind, is warned by a fish, an avatar of the god Vishnu, about a great deluge. Manu builds a boat, ties it to the fish, and is guided to safety on a mountain peak. These widespread flood narratives have led scholars to debate whether they stem from a common historical event or represent independent responses to local catastrophes. Some researchers suggest that these stories might reflect memories of the rapid sea level rise at the end of the last ice age around 10,000 years ago, which would have caused significant flooding in coastal areas. Adventurers and scholars have scoured Mount Ararat for centuries, seeking the ultimate biblical artifact. What clues have they uncovered? Could Noah's Ark still exist? Stay tuned as we unlock this mystery. Archaeological searches for evidence of Noah's Ark. The quest to find physical evidence of Noah's Ark has captivated explorers, researchers, and religious enthusiasts for centuries. This search has primarily focused on the region of Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey, based on the biblical account stating that the Ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. One of the earliest recorded expeditions dates back to the 3rd century AD, when a bishop named Jacob of Nisibis reportedly attempted to climb Mount Ararat to find the Ark. Since then, numerous expeditions have been launched, each hoping to uncover tangible proof of this legendary vessel. In the 19th century, these searches gained momentum. In 1876, British scholar James Bryce claimed to have found a piece of hand-tooled wood at an elevation of 13,000 feet on Mount Ararat. This discovery sparked renewed interest and led to more organized expeditions. The 20th century saw a surge in Ark hunting activities. In 1949, a U.S. Air Force mission photographed what some believed to be the remains of a large ship on the mountain's northwestern slope. This incident, known as the Ararat anomaly, fueled speculation and inspired further investigations. One of the most famous ARK hunters of the 20th century was Ron Wyatt, an amateur archaeologist who claimed to have found the remains of Noah's Ark in 1977. Wyatt's alleged discovery was at a site now known as the Durupinar site, located about 17 miles south of Mount Ararat. While Wyatt's claims gained significant attention, they were largely dismissed by the scientific community due to lack of credible evidence. In more recent years, satellite imagery and advanced scanning technologies have been employed in the search. In 2010, a team of Chinese and Turkish evangelical explorers claimed to have found wooden remains on Mount Ararat at an altitude of about 13,000 feet. They asserted that carbon dating proved the wood was 4,800 years old, roughly aligning with the estimated time of Noah's flood. However, these claims were met with skepticism from scholars who pointed out the lack of peer-reviewed evidence. Despite the absence of widely accepted physical evidence, the search for Noah's Ark continues to this day. Modern expeditions often combine traditional archaeological methods with cutting-edge technology such as ground-penetrating radar and satellite imaging. These efforts are not just about finding a specific artifact. They also contribute to our understanding of the region's geology, history, and cultural significance. It's important to note that the scientific community generally views these searches with skepticism. Many geologists and archaeologists argue that there is no geological evidence for a global flood as described in the Bible, and that the odds of finding preserved remains of a wooden structure thousands of years old are extremely low. Nevertheless, the ongoing search for Noah's Ark highlights the powerful intersection of faith, science, and human curiosity. It demonstrates how ancient narratives continue to inspire exploration and inquiry in the modern world. Whether or not physical evidence of the Ark is ever found, these expeditions have undoubtedly contributed to our knowledge of the Ararat region's geography, geology, and cultural history. The search for Noah's Ark also raises interesting questions about the relationship between faith and empirical evidence. For some, the lack of physical proof does not diminish the story's spiritual significance. For others, the search represents an attempt to reconcile religious narratives with scientific understanding. This ongoing dialogue between faith and science continues to shape our approach to ancient texts and their place in the modern world. A boat-shaped formation in Turkey has sparked worldwide conspiracy. Is this the final resting place of Noah's Ark? What secrets does it hold? Join us as we explore this controversial site. The Durupinar site in Turkey and associated research. The Durupinar site, located in eastern Turkey about 17 miles south of Mount Ararat, has been a focal point of Noah's Ark research since its discovery in 1959. The site is named after Turkish Army Captain İlhan Durupinar, who first noticed the boat-shaped formation in aerial photographs of the region taken during a NATO mapping mission. The formation, approximately 538 feet long and 168 feet wide, bears a striking resemblance to the hull of a ship. Its dimensions are remarkably close to those described in the Bible for Noah's Ark, which has led many to believe it could be the final resting place of the legendary vessel. Interest in the site intensified in 1960 when archaeologist Arthur Brandenberger of Ohio State University visited the location. While Brandenberger's initial assessment was that the formation was likely natural, his report sparked further investigation. The Turkish government took notice, and in 1966 they officially designated the site as Noah's Ark National Park, marking it with a visitor's center and a sign. The site gained worldwide attention in the late 1970s when Ron Wyatt, an amateur archaeologist and biblical literalist, began conducting extensive research there. Wyatt claimed to have found numerous artifacts that he believed proved the formation was indeed Noah's Ark. These included alleged petrified wood, animal droppings, and even what he described as anchor stones used to stabilize the Ark during the flood. Wyatt's claims, however, were met with significant skepticism from the scientific community. Professional geologists who examined the site argued that the formation was a natural phenomenon known as a syncline, a fold in the rock layers that can create a boat-like shape. They pointed out that the petrified wood was actually andesite, a volcanic rock common in the area. Despite the criticism, Wyatt's work inspired others to continue investigating the site. In the 1990s, geologist Dr. Salih Bayraktutan of Ataturk University conducted more rigorous scientific studies of the formation. While Bayraktutan didn't conclude that the site was definitively Noah's Ark, he did argue that it warranted further investigation, noting unusual characteristics that set it apart from surrounding geological formations. In recent years, researchers have employed more advanced technologies to study the Durupinar site. Ground-penetrating radar GPR surveys have been conducted, with some researchers claiming to have detected regular patterns beneath the surface that could indicate artificial structures. However, these results have been disputed, with critics arguing that the patterns could be explained by natural geological processes. One of the most recent and comprehensive studies of the site was conducted in 2014 by a team led by computer scientist and archaeologist Andrew Jones. Using satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and other advanced techniques, Jones and his team produced detailed 3D scans of the formation. While their research didn't conclusively prove or disprove the Noah's Ark hypothesis, it did provide valuable data for ongoing study of the site. The Durupinar site remains a subject of debate among researchers, with opinions ranging from firm belief in its connection to Noah's Ark to complete dismissal as a natural formation. This ongoing controversy highlights the challenges of interpreting geological evidence in light of ancient texts and the often blurry line between archaeology and faith-based research. Regardless of its true nature, the Durupinar site has become an important cultural and touristic landmark in Turkey. It continues to attract visitors from around the world, serving as a tangible focal point for discussions about the interplay between science, faith, and ancient narratives. God's blueprint for salvation, precise, massive, and seaworthy. But how big was Noah's Ark really? Could it have housed all those animals? Let's break down the divine design specifications, biblical descriptions of the Ark's construction and dimensions. The book of Genesis provides a detailed account of God's instructions to Noah for building the Ark, including specific dimensions and materials. These descriptions have been the subject of much analysis and interpretation over the centuries by both religious scholars and those interested in ancient shipbuilding techniques. According to Genesis 6:14-16, God instructed Noah to build the ark out of gopher wood and to coat it inside and out with pitch. The ark was to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. It was to have 3 decks, a roof finished to a cubit above, and a door in its side. The ark was also to have many rooms or compartments. The cubit, an ancient unit of measurement, is generally considered to be the length from a man's elbow to the tip of his middle finger, approximately 18 inches or 45 centimeters. Using this measurement, the ark would have been about 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. These dimensions give the ark a displacement tonnage of about 22,000 tons, which is larger than any wooden ship ever built. The ratio of length to width, 6:1, is remarkably similar to that of modern naval architecture, providing optimal stability in rough seas. This aspect has intrigued many researchers, as it suggests a design that would have been seaworthy despite its massive size. The biblical description of the ark's construction has led to numerous attempts to recreate or model the vessel. In the Netherlands, a full-scale replica of Noah's Ark, built according to biblical dimensions, was completed in 2012. This modern ark, while not seaworthy, serves as a museum and provides visitors with a tangible sense of the ark's immense size. The gopher wood mentioned in the Bible has been the subject of much speculation, as this term appears nowhere else in ancient literature. Some scholars suggest it might refer to cypress, a durable wood known for its resistance to rot. Others propose that it might be a reference to laminated wood or a particular method of treating wood to make it more water-resistant. The use of pitch, both inside and outside the ark, is noteworthy. Pitch, a sticky black substance derived from plants or petroleum, would have helped waterproof the vessel. This detail shows an understanding of shipbuilding techniques that would have been crucial for a vessel meant to withstand a catastrophic flood. The Ark's 3 decks and multiple rooms suggest an organized interior designed to house and segregate different species of animals. Some researchers have attempted to calculate whether the Ark's internal volume would have been sufficient to house representatives of all animal species, leading to debates about the definition of kinds mentioned in the Bible and the potential for post-flood speciation. The mention of a window and a door in the Ark's design has also attracted attention. Some interpretations suggest the window was actually a long light shaft running the length of the Ark, providing ventilation and light to all decks. The single door, which God himself closes in the narrative, has often been interpreted symbolically as representing salvation through divine grace. While the biblical description provides many details, it leaves much to the imagination, leading to various artistic and scholarly interpretations over the centuries. Medieval and Renaissance artists often depicted the Ark as a house-like structure on a boat, while modern recreations tend to envision it as a more ship-like vessel. The specificity of the Ark's dimensions in the Bible has led some to argue for the historical accuracy of the account, suggesting that such precise details would be unnecessary in a purely allegorical story. Others view these details as literary devices intended to lend verisimilitude to the narrative. Regardless of one's perspective on the historical accuracy of the Noah's Ark story, the biblical description of its construction and dimensions continues to fascinate scholars, engineers, and the general public alike. It serves as proof of the long-lasting power of this ancient narrative and its ability to spark imagination and inquiry across millennia. Theories about gopher wood used in the Ark's construction. The material used to construct Noah's Ark, referred to as gopher wood in many English translations of the Bible, has been a subject of intense speculation and debate among scholars, theologians, and researchers for centuries. The term appears only once in the Bible, specifically in Genesis 6:14, where God instructs Noah to build the ark out of this material. The Hebrew phrase used in the original text is atzei gopher, which literally translates to gopher trees or gopher wood. However, the exact nature of this wood remains a mystery, as the term is not used anywhere else in ancient Hebrew literature or in any other known ancient texts. One popular theory suggests that gopher might be related to the Hebrew word gopher, meaning pitch or bitumen. This interpretation aligns with the following instruction in the biblical text to coat the ark with pitch. Some scholars propose that the wood itself might have had resinous or bituminous properties, making it naturally water-resistant and ideal for shipbuilding. Another common interpretation is that gopher refers to cypress wood. This theory gained traction due to the cypress tree's rot-resistant properties and its historical use in shipbuilding. The Septuagint, an ancient Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, renders the phrase as ek xylon tetragonon, meaning from square timber, which some have interpreted as a reference to Cyprus. Some researchers have proposed more exotic explanations. One theory suggests that gopher might be related to the Greek word kuparison, meaning cypress, which could have been transliterated into Hebrew. Others have speculated that it might refer to a laminated wood product, created by gluing together layers of wood to increase strength and water resistance. An intriguing hypothesis proposes that gopher might not refer to a specific type of wood at all, but rather to a method of preparing or treating the wood. This theory suggests that the term could describe a process of shaping, seasoning, or waterproofing the timber to make it suitable for constructing a massive, seaworthy vessel. Some researchers have looked to other ancient flood myths for clues. The Epic of Gilgamesh, for instance, describes the construction of a similar ark using wood from various trees, including cedar, pine, and cypress. This has led some scholars to suggest that gopher wood might be a general term for coniferous trees rather than a specific species. Modern attempts to recreate Noah's Ark have often used pine or fir due to their availability and suitable properties for large-scale construction. However, these choices are based more on practicality than on any definitive understanding of the original. The debate over gopher wood extends beyond mere academic curiosity. For those who view the Noah's Ark narrative as historical, identifying this material could provide valuable insights into ancient shipbuilding techniques and potentially aid in the search for archaeological evidence of the Ark. From a linguistic perspective, the mystery of gopher wood highlights the challenges of translating ancient texts and understanding terms that have lost their original context. It serves as a reminder of the gaps in our knowledge of ancient languages and cultures. Some scholars argue that the specificity of the term gopher wood lends credibility to the historical nature of the Noah's Ark account, suggesting that such a precise detail would be unnecessary in a purely allegorical story. Others view it as a literary device intended to add authenticity to the narrative. Regardless of its exact nature, the enigma of gopher wood continues to captivate researchers and enthusiasts. It stands as proof of the long-lasting mystery and allure of ancient texts, inspiring ongoing research and speculation in fields ranging from botany and linguistics to archaeology and naval architecture. While we may never know with certainty what gopher wood actually was, the quest to understand it enriches our exploration of ancient history, shipbuilding techniques, and the interplay between religious texts and scientific inquiry. Flood myths in various cultures and civilizations. The story of a great flood that destroys most of humanity is not unique to the biblical account of Noah's Ark. Similar narratives appear in the mythologies and religious texts of cultures around the world, spanning continents and millennia. This widespread occurrence of flood myths has intrigued scholars, anthropologists, and theologians, leading to various theories about their origins and significance. One of the most famous flood myths outside the Judeo-Christian tradition is the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh. In this ancient tale, the gods decide to send a great flood to destroy humanity. The god Ea warns Utnapishtim, instructing him to build a large boat to save himself, his family, and animals. The similarities to the Noah story are striking, including the release of birds to find dry land. In Hindu mythology, the Matsya avatar of Vishnu warns Manu of an impending deluge and instructs him to build a boat. Manu survives the flood with Matsya's help and becomes the progenitor of the new human race. This story appears in various texts, including the Satapatha Brahmana and the Puranas. Greek mythology features the tale of Deucalion and Pyrrha, who survive a great flood sent by Zeus to punish humanity's wickedness. They repopulate the earth by throwing stones over their shoulders, which transform into people. In Chinese folklore, the story of Gun Yu tells of a great flood that lasted for generations. The hero Yu the Great eventually succeeds in controlling the waters and becomes the founder of the Jia dynasty. Native American cultures have their own flood myths. The Ojibwe tell of a great flood survived by Nanabojo, who rebuilds the world with the help of muskrats and birds. The Aztecs believed in periodic destructions and recreations of the world, with one era ending in a great flood. Polynesian cultures, despite their geographical isolation, also have flood myths. In Hawaiian mythology, Nu'u survives a flood in a large canoe and makes offerings to the moon, mistaking it for the god Cain. The prevalence of flood myths across diverse cultures has led to several theories. One, common historical event. Some researchers propose that these myths might stem from a common historical event, such as the rapid rise in sea levels at the end of the last ice age around 10,000 years ago. 2. Collective memory of local catastrophes. Others suggest that flood myths might represent collective memories of local flooding events, which were then magnified in storytelling over generations. 3. Archetypical narrative. Psychologists like Carl Jung have proposed that flood myths might represent a universal archetype in human consciousness, symbolizing destruction and renewal. 4. Cultural diffusion. Some scholars argue that flood myths might have spread through cultural contact and trade, explaining similarities between geographically distant cultures. 5. Common human experience. The universality of floods as natural disasters could explain why so many cultures independently developed similar narratives. The study of flood myths provides valuable insights into ancient cultures' worldviews, their understanding of natural disasters, and concepts of divine judgment and human morality. These stories often serve as foundational myths, explaining the origins of peoples and justifying social orders. Comparative mythology has revealed interesting patterns in these flood narratives. Many feature a divine warning to a chosen individual, the construction of a vessel, the saving of animals, and the eventual receding of waters. The flood often serves as a dividing line between a corrupt old world and a renewed creation. While scientific evidence does not support the occurrence of a global flood within human history, the persistence and similarity of flood myths across cultures continue to fascinate researchers. These stories reflect universal human concerns about destruction and survival, divine justice, and the relationship between humanity and nature. The study of flood myths also raises important questions about the interpretation of ancient texts and the relationship between myth and history. As we continue to uncover archaeological evidence and develop new methods of analyzing ancient cultures, our understanding of these flood narratives and their significance continues to evolve. Underwater cities and other archaeological findings. The discovery of underwater cities and other submerged archaeological sites has provided intriguing evidence that has been interpreted by some as supporting the possibility of ancient flood events. These findings have sparked debates about their relationship to flood myths and potential historical cataclysms. One of the most famous underwater archaeological sites is the ruins of Pavlopetri, off the coast of southern Greece. Dated to around 2800 BCE, it's considered the oldest known submerged city. The site includes intact building foundations, courtyards, streets, and tombs. While its submergence is likely due to gradual changes in sea level and tectonic activity rather than a sudden flood, it offers valuable insights into ancient Mediterranean civilizations and their relationship with the sea. In the Gulf of Cambay, off the western coast of India, researchers have discovered underwater structures that some claim to be the remains of an ancient city. Dubbed Gulf of Cambay ruins, these findings include geometrical structures and artifacts that some researchers date back to 9000 BCE. However, the age and nature of these structures are highly debated in the scientific community. The underwater ruins of Port Royal in Jamaica provide a more recent example of a submerged city. Once known as the wickedest city on Earth, Port Royal was partially submerged by an earthquake and subsequent tsunami in 1692. This site offers archaeologists a unique snapshot of 17th-century Caribbean life, preserved by the sea. In the Mediterranean, numerous underwater archaeological sites have been discovered, including submerged portions of Alexandria in Egypt and the sunken city of Baia in Italy. These sites often result from a combination of land subsidence and sea level rise rather than catastrophic flooding. The Black Sea has been a particular focus of underwater archaeology related to flood theories. In 1996, geologists William Ryan and Walter Pittman proposed that the Black Sea was rapidly flooded around 5600 BCE when rising Mediterranean waters breached a natural dam in the Bosphorus Strait. Some researchers have linked this event to flood myths, including Noah's Ark. Subsequent underwater surveys have revealed ancient shorelines and possible human habitations, though the rapid flood hypothesis remains controversial. In Cuba, researchers using sonar technology have identified unusual formations on the seafloor that some have interpreted as the remains of an ancient city. Dubbed the Cuban Underwater City, these findings have yet to be thoroughly investigated and remain a subject of speculation. The sunken city of Heraklion off the coast of Egypt, rediscovered in 2000, has provided a wealth of archaeological treasures. Once a major port city, Heraklion sank into the Mediterranean around 800 CE due to a combination of rising sea levels, land subsidence, and possibly earthquakes. While many of these underwater discoveries are the result of gradual geological processes rather than sudden catastrophic floods, they have nonetheless contributed to our understanding of ancient civilizations and their relationship with changing sea levels. They provide tangible evidence of how climate change and geological events have shaped human settlements over millennia. It's important to note that while these underwater archaeological findings are fascinating and scientifically valuable, they do not provide direct evidence for a global flood as described in many flood myths. Instead, they offer insights into localized events, gradual environmental changes, and the dynamic relationship between human civilizations and their aquatic environments. The study of these submerged sites has been greatly aided by advancements in underwater archaeology techniques, including the use of remote sensing technologies, underwater robotics, and advanced diving equipment. These tools allow researchers to map and study underwater sites with unprecedented detail and minimal disturbance to the archaeological remains. As research in this field continues, it's likely that more underwater archaeological sites will be discovered, further enriching our understanding of ancient civilizations and the environmental changes they faced. Thanks for watching. Like this video and subscribe to our channel for more updates. And while you're still here, click the video on your screen for more mind-blowing videos.